Hi, I'm Ron.
And I'm Don.
And this is the Ron and Don Show. Thank you for joining us today. Our topic today is EIFS. Our subject matter expert is Keith Moore of U.S. Exteriors. Keith, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. U.S. Exterior, we're starting our 20th year this year, so we're really excited. We specialize in exterior building envelope evaluations, restorations, and repairs. So we do a lot in the stucco, EIFS world, and then we get into the other claddings. One of our little side things we've started is we're actually certified for Duralast, because as we start working on projects, what we find is a lot of times the managers are telling us they have leaks. So we've started working in that realm as well.
Interesting.
Well, when we talk about stucco, EIFS, we hear the terms Dryvit and Stowe and all. What's real, what's not?
So what you get into is you have a hard coat stucco. And a hard coat stucco is going to be a cementitious type product with metal lath and a finish over the top of it. When we get into EIFS, which stands for exterior insulation and finish systems, we're going to add in a layer of insulation to that component, and our laminas are going to get really thin. As far as the Dryvit and Stows of the world, those are actual manufacturers of the products. Stowe was one of the original manufacturers that started, and then Dryvit came into the scene about 10 years after the fact.
So kind of the tissue versus Kleenex.
That's exactly right.
I think Ford versus Chevy, but that's close enough. So I get it. Now, you've described a couple of different systems, and I think you brought some samples.
I did.
Can you walk us through those two different systems?
Sure. So we're going to start with a hard coat stucco, and as we look at the hard coat stucco, all the systems are going to start with a sheathing of some type. Typically for hard coat stucco, it's going to be a wood. We're going to add a weather barrier. Here it's going to be 2 layers of 15-pound felt paper. We're going to add in our metal lath, which is going to be mechanically attached. We're going to put a cementitious scratch coat on. In a lot of cases, manufacturers today have one coat, so it'll be a scratch and brown coat combo. The thing to note is they should be no thinner than 5/8 of an inch thick. And then our very top coat is going to be a finish coat, which today is pretty much an acrylic type finish that goes over the top, gives us a nice uniform color. So that's a hard coat stucco. Now, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do I know the difference? Well, if we knock on this, it's going to be very solid, sounds like concrete. But if we switch over to our synthetic stucco, the first thing we're going to notice is we have an insulation that's a backing to it. Now, this insulation is going to be screwed over a sheathing. Once that's put over, we're going to have our base coat and mesh applied, and we're going to note that that lamina is really thin. It's about 1/8 of an inch or less. So this is what gives us our weatherability to the product. The last thing we have, again, is another acrylic finish. So these are the two main systems that you're going to see out there. The one thing you'll notice, now if we knock on this, it sounds slightly hollow. So that's going to be two of the ways that you can really tell the difference between the two products. Now, what we'd also say is a lot of times if you take off like an exterior outlet, pop it off, you can look alongside the outlet and actually see what you're dealing with. Might also note that the color of the mesh is going to dictate the manufacturer. In this case, yellow will be Stowe, blue would be Dryvit, red would be Parex. Synergy is white. So you get into a lot of the different manufacturers by if you can get the mesh color.
Does it matter if you're doing repairs, for example, which manufacturer system you use?
It would help if you knew, because it helps get the right base coats and the compatibility down. If you don't know, the products are very similar in nature, so we don't have to worry about you know, cross-contamination or compatibility between the two.
When I go down the street and see a restaurant and their gooseneck light is hanging like this, or the signage is tilting off the building on a building that has these kind of finishes, what happened?
So what happened is when the installer of either the sign or the light fixture went to go ahead and install those systems, what they did is they drilled directly through the foam and they went into the sheathing. Well, what happens is that fastener is basically cantilevered out here. So over time, gravity plays a role, and this doesn't have the strength to hold that light fixture or signage. So the easiest way to do it is to drill maybe a 1/4 to 1/2 inch hole through the synthetic, put in a PVC sleeve, and then put in your bolt or screw. That way when you're torquing down, you're not crushing the system, but you also have that added benefit of being able to tighten up the bolt. And simply fill that sleeve with a little bit of silicone, and that'll hold it in place.
What about the junction box that those gooseneck lights are on? sometimes there's nothing really behind it they've screwed into.
Again, you'd use a similar fashion, but instead of screwing into the sheathing or the substrate, what you can do is, again, put your PVC pipe in there and then put a molly with an anchor on the back of it. And that'll let you tighten it up and get it
So that
down.
brings the rigidity of the substrate through the EIFS system.
Exactly.
And allows it to be there at the fastener.
We're basically making it one big componented system.
Great advice. Tell us a little bit about the decorative features of these synthetic stuccos with regard to building up layers and the architectural arches and things that you see.
Most of those are done with multiple layers of foam. So we're going to start with our base foam as we'd have here, and before we put the finish coat on, we would actually mount another layer of foam. We'd add the base coat and mesh into that, and the beautiful thing that you've done is you've made it a single component system. We have no gaps or voids. That way when we put our finish on, we have a continuous layer and a continuous system. That's one of the big benefits about having a synthetic system. In a lot of cases, what people are doing is they're actually crossing these two systems. They'll actually use the foam on top of the stucco system to give themselves a nice decorative advantage.
So the value then of using the EIFS on top of a mortar-based system is that you're not adding all that additional weight, I would imagine.
That's a big advantage, and it's a lot easier to manipulate and shape the foam than it would be a conventional stucco system.
Amazing. Tell us about cap sealing of parapet walls and other openings. I know that water is no friend to EIFS.
Water is no friend to EIFS as it is basically with any cladding. And if we think about a sealant is our first line of defense against any type of rain or moisture on the outside of the building. So one of the things we really want to do is make for sure we're specifying good commercial-based sealants. And what do we mean by that? You're not going to pick it up at your local hardware store. You're going to actually specify a product that's available from a commercial distributor of sealants. So for a couple of them would be Dow Corning or Pecora. Both have great commercial products that work very well with synthetic systems. They've both been tested and longevity works. As far as type of sealants, we really like to use silicones. And the reason why we like to use silicones are there's a lot of advantages. So if we were to look at this sample, for example, whenever we're looking at a silicone, we can do basically what they call a 2-to-1 ratio. So in this case, we have the sealant that's about 3/4 to a 1/2 inch wide up here. But if we actually flip it over and we look at the depth, okay, it's clearly only about a 1/4 inch deep. So that's what we'd call a 2-to-1 sealant ratio. But if we do that with our backer rod, what we're actually doing is allowing that sealant to go from a 1/2 inch to a 3/4 inch expansion. Now, a lot of people think, wow, you don't need that much. But if you think you're in the south and you have a nice dark bronze window, and that window heats up on the west side of the elevation at the end of the day and it's expanding, we want to have that ability for it to expand. Well, our sealants are going to shrink at that point. So it's going to go from a 1/2 inch maybe down to a 3/8. But as things cool down at night, it's going to stretch itself back out. So that's where we want that 50% movability rate with our silicones. When we get into cap flashings, we want to make for sure that we're sealing all the top of the parapets, and we're sealing that back edge, and depending on how the front edge is, sometimes we want to seal that. Want to be careful because sometimes that's going to inhibit any water that may get in from coming out if we seal up too much.
In the wrong place.
Exactly,
Right,
we could end up with it in the wrong place.
All right, so this naturally rolls us right into the discussion on paint.
Yes, and when we're thinking about paints for synthetic or stucco systems, we have to remember one thing. These systems are very breathable. And if you can kind of picture, they're very much like Gore-Tex. What does Gore-Tex do? If we're walking through a creek, it's going to keep the water out of our shoes. But if we're sweating, it's going to allow the moisture to wick out. Well, the synthetic systems work very much the same way. So they're very good at blocking moisture coming through the face, okay, but they're really good allowing moisture to pass through the foam on the back side. So with that, when we're looking at our coatings, we really need to look at coatings that are highly breathable. They have a very high perm rating, and they're rated that way. So our recommendation is if you have EIFS on your building or stucco, look at the EIFS or stucco manufacturers. They all have coatings that are specifically designed to work with their systems. And yes, those products are interchangeable. So you can put a Stowe product on a Dryvit system, you can put a Dryvit product on a Stowe system. But again, what we're looking to do is to allow moisture to escape the system. And the easiest way to picture it, how does it work? If we look at water vapor molecules and you look at a rain molecule, it's on the surface of this, it would look like a boxcar for the size of the rain molecule. and the vapor molecule is going to be the size of a basketball on the outside. So if we look at the pores of this, the boxcar bridges the open pores on the face, but it still allows the water vapor to go through the backside of it, which would be like the size of a basketball.
So Keith, just for clarity, what you're describing with a paint finish or a paint product, it's probably then not a good idea to use a industrial grade elastomeric or something, because it would actually seal the pores of the EIFS system.
That's actually correct. Elastomerics can work really well on a stucco system because they're designed to bridge cracking. We don't get so much cracking on an EIFS system, but if we're going to use elastomeric, we need to make for sure that the elastomeric has a very high perm rating. And what are we talking about high? We're talking about 12 perms or greater to allow vapor to move through the system.
I wonder how many facility managers just learned something for the first time, because that's very interesting.
It is.
You could destroy the entire breathability of an EIFS system by putting the wrong paint on the building.
Exactly, and if you're in the northern climates, about 6 months out of the year, our vapor drive really changes because warm air always migrates to cold air. So if you think about in Chicago, where I'm from, starting in November when we kick on those heating systems, guess what happens? Our warm air is migrating to the outside of the building where the cold air is. So if we have all that vapor barrier build up on the back of that elastomeric coating, you literally start to get big bubbles that will pop off the building as the paint starts to deteriorate and come off.
I guess that leads right into me, and we had some real major problems in Maine and Maryland and in Austin, Texas, where the whole exterior surface it looked like it had the scabies or chicken pox, and it was a mess.
Exactly. And we were running into a lot of those same situations in those, particularly the ones in the northern climates. And while the solution sounds easy, it's actually a little labor intensive, because what you got to do in that case is you actually got to find all the delamination on the building, remove it, and then reinstall either a good primer over the top of it to prevent it, or in some cases, we had one or two of them I know where we actually had to take the entire system off the sections and reapply it again, which gets to be quite the labor intensive.
Well, we had
expensive.
rotten plywood behind some of it.
Yeah.
Because there was so much moisture involved. Also, when we were talking about sealants, we talked about silicone. Do we use any other kinds of sealants to, like down at plates and that kind of stuff?
We really don't like using urethanes or acrylics on synthetic systems for the simple reason an acrylic just doesn't have the flexibility we need. And urethanes, most of them are two-part components. We're relying on a field technician, someone in the field, to get those parts mixed exactly right. But again, a urethane doesn't actually ever really cure out. It's curing during the life of its sealant, so it's very tacky. They get very dirty very fast on a building. So again, when you go to take them out, a lot of times what happens is you damage the Dryvit laminate or the surface or the face of the system because you're trying to remove it to get your new sealants in.
Now, when we're looking at a building, we got cracks through the building. What's causing that?
It can be caused by a lot of different things. Typically, when we're doing a synthetic system, if we're looking at it, they may have not overlapped the mesh, the 4 to 6 inches of recommendation, so they may have butted it, so we can get a crack at those joints as the building flexes, because buildings do move, and this kind of shows that that does happen. Well, as that would happen, we'd get the crack. If we're talking about a hard coat stucco system, and we're getting cracks, typically we have a couple of things going on. One, we could have a very thin base coat for the stucco, or two, we may not have enough expansion joints where they're required. So if we look at the requirements for expansion joints in stucco, it's every 144 square feet at the top and bottom corner of windows and doors, or my favorite one, which is actually written into the code, where you think the system may crack. So, our joke is stucco is great, but really there's only two types of stucco, the one that has cracked and the one that will crack. And our jobs are really to control the cracking, because we can always add expansion joints once the cracking started to help minimize it for the future.
When we talk about walking or going by light colored buildings, more in this color, especially in the middle of summer, they're just dirty looking. Is there anything we can do to make it so that they stay clean longer?
There are more and more specialty coatings hitting the marketplace by the manufacturers. There are several manufacturers that are adding silicones into the finish that actually make them hydrophobic. And hydrophobic is the action you see on your car when you wax it. You get all the beating up. Well, you can also get that with a lot of the surface coatings that are available today from like Stow and Dryvit, where they're making these hydrophobic coatings. And as you put them on the building, they will stay cleaner because they're almost self-washing every time it rains. Now, yeah. Now, some of the things we have to watch for, though, is like white rust, which comes from aluminum frames. That'll come down on a building, and it's pretty much a stain, and it's very hard to get off. So those may be some problem areas. But overall, surface dirt, most of our facilities that we're talking about today are on the corners. They're on high traffic areas, and we're going to get a lot of environmental pollutants, and that's where these hydrophobic coatings work out great.
Well, what is the expected life of one of these systems?
Basically, the systems themselves, I mean, we've got systems in place that go back into the 50s. So you can get 50, 60, 70 years. We really don't know the life expectancy. The life expectancy is going to be determined by the amount of maintenance that you're putting into the systems. We recommend for like the surface, keeping them refreshed and probably recoating it with a new coating about every 10 to 15 years. That way we're keeping it nice and refreshed. You know, most facilities are changing colors along those lines anyway, so that kind of fits into a good maintenance program with them. And then keeping up on our sealants and other components around the Dryvit and the stucco.
So you just go to the hardware store and buy some paint and put it on it, right?
Sure, let's do that, because that helps keep us in business, and we really appreciate that.
I think that's my biggest takeaway, is that you can destroy an EIFS system by putting the wrong coatings on.
Definitely, and that's a lot of what we see out there. When we get involved, we're generally involved because something's happened in the 3, 4, or 5 years prior to us getting there.
Keith, I want to thank you for being here today. Just a wealth of information that I'm sure our viewers very much appreciate hearing.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you for being here, Keith.
I'm Ron.
I'm Don.
And I'm Keith.
And this is the Ron and Don Show. Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe.
Oh.